Welcome, guys, to BC Pro Cast episode number 17. And today we're gonna make this intro as fast as possible because today we have the one, the only, myth, the legend,
Joey ILO.
Yes. I know you're clapping wherever you are,
Everybody's clapping.
But we are very honored and very blessed to be talking to someone who is so beautiful at his craft. He actually performed tonight, absolutely killed it. So funny. You're literally crying, but then you're also laughing, and then you're crying, and then you're laughing. It's just, he has this roller coaster, and it is the best ride you can ever buy.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. That's a real compliment.
My favorite joke from tonight, I won't get into it deeply, was when you were dancing, you're like, and there's no band. I was like, that definitely hit. But we're very excited to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time. So do you want to just quick explain who you are? You're in the comedy realm, like a quick elevator thing.
Yeah, I've been doing comedy for 19 years, and I started in stand-up. I started writing songs and stuff when I was like 11 years old, and I put out 2 albums by the time I was 21, Passing the Presentation and Collective Thoughts. And then I went on to work with a gospel choir, and I wrote 5 songs on their album. I had a stroke when I was 21, and so obviously I had to learn to walk again and talk again. And then I got into comedy right around my later 20s. I had a girlfriend who was putting on a comedy show at her church and was like, you should try it. And I was like, I was thinking that she wanted to book me for music.
Yeah.
But they booked me for comedy. And so I tried it, and she was like, you have potential. And so I looked up the city pages. I was in Minneapolis, and I started going to open mics. And by my 3rd comedy show, I got paid $500 to do 30 minutes. And I was hooked at that point.
Goodness.
I didn't kill it. And I knew I needed to work at it. So I looked up the city pages, and I started going to open mics every night. And then I got hired at First Avenue. That's where Prince shot Purple Rain in Minneapolis. I worked in the Warehouse District, and I worked for Club 3 Degrees. Then I had my own show called the Ielo Comedy Show. And I've worked with comics like Preacher Lawson when he was 19. Then he went on to win America's Got Talent, toured with him, toured with a comic named Matt Falk, who's really huge in Canada. And he was also young. He was only like 16, 17. These guys have gone on to be huge stars. And so I'm just blessed to be a part of it all and have gotten a chance to work with some of the greats,
That is crazy. I didn't even know too much because I know you incorporate music in some great songs. We were just talking about it right before. You have this song that's, I don't know what the name is, In Shape or something like that. Out of Shape. Yeah. It's very, very catchy. If it comes out, you definitely have to listen to it. But that is so cool. And I didn't know that you did music.
Yeah, I was a songwriter.
Yeah.
And I was a rapper. I started rapping when I was 11 years old. And so, I used to stutter. I had a speech impediment. And so I would use the syncopation of the rhythm to be able to talk. It just helped me to talk. And when I would write it out and syncopate it, I could, and that's why even to this day, I sound like I'm rapping when I talk sometimes because I talk in rhythm. I format the words. And so I just took the concept of writing raps when I got into comedy, and then I put that rhythm into my writing, and you kind of see that in my set. It's like setup, punchline, setup, and it flows, and it's a bang, 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 and it keeps people engaged.
Yeah. That you saying that definitely makes it more obvious now listening to your set of how there is a rhythm to it, and it's cool. I like to hit things as well on aka the drums.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear how you kind of took that rhythm and placed it into a different art form as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask.
So then my first year, I made it on the Last Comic Standing. I made it to the semifinals, and then I went to Canada, and I was on a comedy tournament, and I placed 4th overall. And it's just winning like the search for the next great comic for Sierra Mist. I won. I was flown to New York City, and so that kind of catapulted me into my career. How you just start winning comedy competitions and making a name for yourself, being consistent and having a good work ethic. It will get you really far.
Yeah. So how do you develop a bit?
Well, I go to open mics, you come up with a concept. It's like when I used to write songs, what do I want to talk about in that song? What is that song themed? What is it supposed to be about? And then you start to put in place in comedy, you start to put in place the tags. The tag is something like, it's like a sentence, right? So your setup is a sentence. And at the end, it's just like rapping. At the end, but rapping is different. Everybody thinks every word has to rhyme. That's not true. The last sentence you say has to set up the next sentence. So in comedy, it's the same way. You would do a setup, and then the last word you say either needs to be the punchline or it needs to be the tag that makes the story interesting or the joke interesting for the crowd to follow along. So that's why you get what's called laugh per minute. Bing bang, bing bang.
Really?
And that's what sets you apart from being a speaker and a comedian. Is really that laugh per minute is really what kind of sets you apart.
Yeah, that's crazy to think, because it's not like you're just going up there telling jokes, but there's like an actual science to it.
Yes.
That's what you were explaining.
And that's what I'm saying. You don't have, it doesn't, when I say laugh per minute, it's just you have to understand that concept so that you can control your own rhythm that you set. Because there's deadpan comedy, there's physical comedy. I'm very physical, and I do a lot of act outs and do characters and do voices and do different things. All of those things can cause the audience to laugh. So that laugh to me is a beat. And so I'm looking to hit beats. I don't just want to be up there talking. I want their laugh to be a beat. And that's why you kind of seen that tonight, where it was like, I throw out a line and then another line, and then another line. And so then you get on, you ride the wave of that.
So this, this kind of like concept or strategy you're talking about, is this something you've learned on your own, or did you pick up from some other people?
Other comedians that taught me, and we're a big community, we're a big family. When you start out in the comedy world, you start out with the greats, depending what city you're living. I was in Minneapolis. I just happened to be in like the third biggest comedy community in the nation. Wow. Nick Swartzen came out of, Dave Mordell, Louis Anderson. There's so many great comics that Pete Lee, he's from Janesville, but he came out of the Minneapolis comedy scene. Mary Mack. There's just so many great comics that I came up with out of the scene. I learned from them, watching them and things like that. So
yeah,
wow.
Advice from them, tags from them. I'd get off the stage and they're like, you could do with this bit. You could add this line to the bit. Nick Swartzen, I did the college joke. And he's the one that gave me the tag, a major in shopping and a minor in food court. He would give me little lines. And so.
That's awesome to hear that the community is very giving.
It is
to one another.
It can be. They can also be very discouraging too. Comics can hate on you in a way that nobody else can, and that's why the open mic. You have to grow out of the open mic, but the open mic is a great place to work. But sometimes you can be stagnant because you're just surrounded with other people who are trying to do what you're doing. So you have to have a balance. You have to put in the work and get the stage time. That's really what sets you apart from another comedian.
Yeah.
So I've been working every day. I work in Branson, Missouri. I live in a tourist town, so I perform for the tourists. Wow. So every day I perform at Westgate Resorts, Wyndham Resorts, and I do different shows, and I'm on tours.
Are a lot of your show times and stuff near the evening?
I work in the day and the night.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
I do a 10 o'clock show, I do a 1 o'clock show, I do a 5 o'clock show, I do a 7 o'clock show.
Oh, my goodness. Where do you get all that energy from? Because I feel like you have to be on point. And you're saying you're doing, multiple in a day?
Oh yeah.
How are you staying consistent?
It's becoming harder for me because I had set the bar high. I made it that I was going to be very high energy. And I remember one time I was at the Joke Joint Comedy Club, and I just wanted to be like some of the other comics where they were just real mellow. And so I got up on stage and sat on a stool, and the owner came up to me afterwards. He's like, if you ever do that again, you're not welcome in this club. I want you to be who you are. I want you to be the Joey that we know. And so that once you raise the bar at what you're at, then you have to commit to that.
Yeah. So you that is who you are. Mm-hmm. And you were saying you're kind of wishing maybe you're toned down, especially as you're spending all the time in it. But how did you find yourself? We were kind of talking a little bit earlier, like the concept of being a comedian or being someone that's talking in front of hundreds of people, potentially 1,000 people or more. and they're all just staring at you, listen to every word you say. How do you find your comfort and self? Is it just like reps going up there? Is it like
yeah?
a pep talk,
After a while, the bigger crowds are easier to perform in front of because it's a numbers game. Like I remember when I first got into comedy, I got off the stage and there was only 9 people, and I was like, I wasn't funny. Nobody. And this comic grabs my arm and he goes, don't you say that you made 8 people out of 9 smile. That's a 98% ratio of joy. And I'm like, where'd you go to school? But he was just saying it's a numbers game. If you got 1,000 people, but you still got to make people laugh.
Yeah.
That's the key,
Exactly.
and you have to do it consistently. So you have to watch your act. You have to tape yourself. You need to record yourself. You have to see where you hit and where you didn't hit. Because a lot of times you'll think, oh, this line is really funny. Then you get it up and you throw it at the crowd. And I just came off a tour. We just did 21 shows in 24 days. And I was with Christian McCartney. He's young. Wow. He's a young kid. He's 22. He's got great talent. But he would throw lines out thinking, he would talk to me. This really just happened. He was like, oh, this joke's going to kill. And he'd get up and it didn't kill.
Yeah.
Or he'd be like, I'm going to try this one. I don't think it's going to work. Boom, it killed.
Yeah.
So the more you get up and the more you throw it out, the more you find what's consistent. And you'll find those. Like I had a friend, he was a comic, really organized. I'm never as organized as this guy. But he had like a little mini filing cabinet, and he rated his jokes. He recorded the audio, and he rated his jokes based on the laughter that each line got. And he would rate that joke 5-star, 3-star,
Really?
2-star. Yes. So then he'd go through a Rolodex. So if he had a 7-minute set, he's picking out the jokes that he wants to do that to impress who he wants to impress. So these guys take this stuff really serious,
And so you develop a set, and you're taking bits that you've taken over time, or you've learned, you've worked on the crowd at different things. How do you orchestrate, or how do you like place which ones? Like, for example, your opening joke, like, is that your hardest hitting, or is that like a warm up? Like, is there thought in placing
For me,
these?
my opening joke needs to be enduring. It needs to be introductionary and enduring to the audience, that they understand who I am, or they understand, or it's just something that's universally funny, that I can relate to. They can relate to me, and then I get into who I am and my name. So like tonight, I started with a joke that was universal to where I was at. I was at a church, and I did a joke about being in church. And I just came right out with it, bam, and it started to hit. And then I did another joke about being at the mall, which was just random.
Yeah.
And then I introduced myself, who I was, what my name was. You can go right into who you are, what your name is, who you are, but you can also do universal stuff that everybody can, so they can see that you're funny right off the bat.
So those universal jokes, is that then interchangeable depending on where you are located?
Yeah, a lot of times when people first start out, they think that they do a lot of localized humor.
Okay.
You can't do that when you're touring. If you're in Alabama, you can't do jokes from Wisconsin, because they're not going to understand what you're talking about. But I grew up here in Wisconsin, so I already had a lot of material about Wisconsin in this area,
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So I want to actually kind of go back a little bit, because you said you were a songwriter.
Yeah.
And you can tell from your comedy that you do have a great voice. Man, you could literally go on a guitar and literally sing your whole set, and people would be like, I want this guy's album, and I want to just listen to his comedy. I'll laugh at stuff. So where did songwriting come in? Like, when did you I want to do that?
Well, when I was young, I used to walk around the house. I used to hum out melodies, and then I would. I grew up in the church my whole life, and my mom used to pray out loud all the time. Well, I used to sing out loud all the time, and I would make up my own songs. And I would. My concept was, if I can't remember it, it's not worth remembering. So I would hum out the melody, then I would try to remember the words. I never sat down and wrote anything out.
Yeah.
I formatted it, memorized it. I might have recorded it, but I didn't spend a lot of time worrying about writing anything down. I just said, if I can't remember it, it's not worth remembering. And then I would just sing it out over and over and over again. And that's, even when I got into comedy, that's how I learned how to do my jokes. I would just kind of say certain premises and then add certain lines and then remember those lines and how I said them when I said them, you know.
A little insider behind the curtain. Is it hard to memorize your set?
Well, yeah, I had a stroke when I was 21. I didn't even know who my aunt was. And it's a really gift. I can't answer how in the world I'm able to remember. I will say that it's becoming harder for me as I'm getting older. There's been a couple times, and I don't want to admit this, but there's been a couple times where I got off stage and I was like, killed it. And they're like, bro, you didn't even do that one jump we told you to do, you know. So, you know, you have to be, you know, I hope that by what I'm doing, memorizing, it's keeping my mind strong so that I don't ever have to deal with dementia or anything like that.
Yeah.
Those are real things that people struggle with, you know.
I'm very curious because I think the world's second. What am I trying to say?
The biggest fear? Is that what you're about to say?
The biggest fear is death, or is it speaking in front of people?
I know speaking in front of people is up high.
I think it's like death and speaking in front of people, which is crazy that they're like it can be one or the other. How have you? Because you said that you went up and did that comedy set with your girlfriend, and how did you build your confidence from that?
Well, I was the type of kid when I was 5 years old, I'd just get on stage and push the other kid out of the way.
Yeah.
So I've never been scared about being in front of anybody. You know, the stage is where I feel most comfortable. I wasn't good at a lot of things. I wasn't good in school, but I was good at being a class clown. I was good at making people laugh. I mean, I was good at rapping, so I used to have bullies, and then they found out I could rap good. They're like, well, I'm not going to beat you up today because you know how to rap. It's like, okay, whatever, you know. So I'm not scared of performing in front of people at all.
So I think this can go into this question then. So why like stand-up comedy? Because you did music, then you had that event, and then you got into stand-up comedy.
Because with my health, it was too hard on me vocally. I had some tissue damage in my voice. And stand-up allows me to do a little bit of music, a little bit of talking, a little bit of this. I can incorporate what I want to incorporate, and I don't need a band. I don't need anybody to travel with me, and I can just do it, and I can make money just being me.
It's crazy to think that you can make an entire career off of just like you're like yourself and a mic.
I know.
Is that cool?
I've been doing it full time.
Yeah. So when did you say, all right, this is full time? When was that switch? Was it like
when I got
paycheck
married,
or
when I got married? You know, it was right before I got married. I was like, I got to. I mean, I got a wife now. I gotta make something. And it was hard. You know, we had the baby, and we got married, and we got married first, and then we got the baby, and I got laid off from a job, and I was just trying to make, you know, and it was really hard. My wife was like, why don't you know. But my wife then told me, I'm okay with what you do as long as you bring home money.
Yeah.
And that first year, I wasn't bringing home any money.
Yeah.
So she almost pulled the plug on me from the beginning.
Yeah.
She made me pawn my Xbox when we first got married. She wasn't playing around.
No. That's cool.
But
so
she motivated me to hustle. She motivated me to make sure that I was making moves and getting out there and taking. That's why I took the offer to go to Branson. And because they were giving me my own show.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what is that show?
Well, it was in theaters. The theaters have moved on now, so there's no more theater that I used to be in. But I just do shows at resorts and do shows.
Okay, when you say shorts, is you going up?
I do my own hour.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like a radio station show or if it was because you've done radio station stuff, right?
What tourists come to me, I meet them, we form a relationship. They see my comedy. Then they hire me to come to their fundraisers, their banquets. And so now I'm on a tour that it looks like I could be on there regularly, you know, and it pays me better than where I'm at right now.
That's a blessing. So when it comes to pay, because I was watching this guy, he's a bass player, I believe, in the UPCI. Man, I wish I knew his name. Didn't know if you're familiar with him. But he was talking about when it comes like to touring, to like own shows, that there's different levels of pay. I'm not asking like how much, but is it like when you're on tour, is it like amount per week or is it like
amount per show?
Okay, per show. All right.
So we do 21 shows in 24 days, and you know, let's say you got $1,000 a show, that's 20 grand.
Wow.
So it's each night you're getting written a check.
Yeah, each night. Well, by the end of the night, they give. I just ask for my money at the end of the tour, and then that's how much you get.
Wow. And then are you staying, like, are you guys all on a bus? Are you staying in hotels? Are you guys traveling together?
They put us up in our Airbnbs. They put us up in hotels. They put us up in, maybe I don't know if I could say all this information, good. But yeah, I mean, but that's not what I get. Sometimes I get more than that. It just depends,
Yeah.
It ranges from like Tim Hawkins. He was making like when he got big, he was 10,000 minimum a show. So 20,000. Some guys make 20 grand. Some guys make 30. It just depends if it's a ticketed event.
Yeah.
And their tickets are going for $40, $50, $60. They're going to be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me is you said that you had a stroke, and my uncle has had a stroke, and it's crazy that I'm actually having a full-on conversation. You're speaking to me. You have full thoughts. My uncle is like a little bit nonverbal,
Mm-hmm.
so he'll like say a couple things, but he's very like doesn't really know. So how did you build that? How did you build your vocabulary?
It's amazing. I mean, 2 years ago I was hospitalized again and I almost died again, and so it's been 2 times where I came very, very close to death, and but it was just because as a young age I started developing all of this stuff, the monotony of going over stuff over and over again. It's like I embedded it into my mind somehow. And 2 years ago, they put me on all kinds of medication. I was like a zombie. And I was like, I don't know how in the world I'm going to be able to overcome this. I don't even feel like myself. I'm like, but then I dug deep and I went back to what I knew, and I would try to remember the material. I had stuff on recorded, so I would watch myself, and it was like not even myself. I was like, man, that's me. And then I would just memorize my own stuff, and then it was just back to doing it again.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then also you talk often about God and his blessings and everything. What is it like to be in an industry of like comedy and being like a clean comic?
Yeah, it's not easy. You get a lot of people who are envious, or no, not envious, but just kind of like, shut up, you're clean, they make fun of us. But there's a need for it. Mm-hmm. There's a need for it. There's customers that want that. And so there's a market for it. Mm. So there's a market for dirty. I don't work dirty, but there's a market for that, and there's a market for clean. And corporate has been that market for many, many, many years. Yeah. So I get booked a lot with corporate and clean things, and and there's not a lot of us that are quality. So then you get paid more, depending on how good you are. Yeah. And the longer you do it, the word gets out that you're known for that, Wow.
Yeah. What was what was, I know you talked about it in the beginning, moments in your career. What was one moment in your career that really stood out and maybe like propelled you to the next level, or that you were really fulfilled with? Is there any moments to stick out?
Dry bar, I fell 2 days before the taping. I separated my shoulder, and I knew that if I didn't do dry bar, I was going to miss out. I would never get that opportunity again. So I performed my whole set with a separated shoulder, and I pulled it off. It was really funny because in the YouTube comments, my neck was like bright red. My body was in shock. I had a cast underneath my jacket, but you couldn't see it. Yeah. And but the clips came out, and someone in the comments was like, "God, he's in bad shape. Look, he's disgusting. He's sweating. His neck is purple." I'm like, dude, I got a separated shoulder, man. I'm working here.
I'm working here.
That's cool.
So people are gonna hate on you. They're gonna say mean things. They don't know. They don't know your story. Mm-hmm. They don't know where you come from. And I think for me, that the longer I've been doing this thing, the more I'm like, man, it's amazing that I'm still doing it.
Yeah, go.
So it sounds like an absolute grind that you're constantly going and going and going. I'm curious of what is your purpose? Like what is like, you look to this whenever you're feeling down. Maybe you have a bad show. Maybe you have, what is your why? What is your, I'm doing this? It's your reminder.
Well, for me personally, it's like, it's a reminder that I'm not in control, and that, and that I go forward, and God just keeps opening the doors for me to walk through them, and I just continue to walk through His grace. And if He calls me home, hopefully that made an impact on people's lives, and by choosing to be clean and I've been doing a lot of encouragement type comedy too, where encourage a lot of people in their illness and their pain. And I've had so many people come up to me after shows like, man, my daughter just died, or my this just died. I had never left the house in like a year, and this is the first time I laughed, or that kind of stuff just makes you go, wow. It makes you want to move forward and continue to keep doing it. It's fulfilling in that sense.
Yeah. Again, you're doing a great job leading into questions. What are some things, because you gave the why and stuff, but what has comedy taught you that maybe that people outside of comedy or live their normal lives that they could take some lessons that going and visiting all those cities, or standing in front of people, or being in an industry where it might sometimes be oh, those are the jokes you say, you're clean or something like that. What are some things that you take away from comedy that maybe people watching, or us, especially us, that maybe you have some tips or advice, stuff you've learned?
Well, I mean, I've learned to just have fun on stage. When I was first starting out, I was all nervous, and this comic said to me, just have fun out there, man. Just go out. If you're not having fun, they're not having fun. Yeah. And the crowd can turn on you based on your confidence. When you talk about confidence, you have to have that confidence. You have to believe in what you're doing. If you're not having fun doing it, then you should just not do it. For some people, it's not their calling. That's not a bad thing. It just may not be cut out for them. But if you're somebody who just wants to do it and then has the gift to do it, I don't mean to bring up his name, but when I'm not trying to make me name drop, but when I seen Preacher, I didn't need Simon Cowell to tell me that kid was a star. You could just see that he was gifted. And this Christian McCartney kid that I just worked with, gifted and funny, his voice is, his face is, he's just unnatural. He just has that gift, So yeah, it's cool to be around those people.
Yeah. And having fun.
Yeah.
Not taking life too serious.
Not taking it too serious, and just having fun.
Be confident in yourself and who you are. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else?
I do. I find you so fascinating because I feel like you just have such a creative mind. I feel like comedy, you have to almost look at a different perspective. Something could happen. I could stub my toe and I'd be like, oh, that hurt. But then it could be looked at as I was getting pizza rolls. You add so much into it, and it's such a beautiful craft. I'm curious because you have to be funny. That's your job is I have to, for a full hour, I have to be absolutely hilarious. What is it like leaving the stage? What is it like going back to your family, going back to do you almost feel like you still have to keep that funniness out, or do you go, oh.
Well, I had a friend who was always on. Yeah. And it drove me nuts. And for me, it's when I'm off, I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm just when I'm talking to you, I'm not trying to be funny. I wrote the material. The material stands on its own.
Yeah.
And I let that speak for itself when I'm on stage.
I like that.
When I'm off stage, I'm just a normal person,
Yeah.
I'm just a normal person anyways, but just keeping the balance. I was told when I got into comedy, you can't have a family in this business because it's so demanding. So I made sure that I set up my family in a tourist town where, I probably took a big pay cut doing what I do, but I want to have a wife. I want to have kids. I want to, so you have to go after your desires too. You can, look, you put your number out there, what you want, and somebody's either going to pay you or they're not. But that doesn't mean you don't stop putting your number out there. This is what I'm worth.
Right.
You want this, then this is what it costs. You don't want it, well then you don't want it.
Yeah.
But you have to believe that there's somebody that values what you value.
That's good.
So you have to value things. You have to value yourself. You have to value your time. You have to value your work. And when you do that, then the reward comes. You get the people that are right for you. This is a big world we live in, And so if you get a no, just know there's a yes around the corner.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've talked about, almost like, creating this content. We're not doing this for anything like that. But it's like, even if it reaches 0.1% of all the people in the world, that's still thousands of people.
Mm.
Don't get me on my math. I'm not good at math. I don't know if that was it or not.
But
But
that's horrible, man.
get 0.00. No. Anyway, but it's like, even just reaching that small. And I love how you're talking about earlier. You're like, it's a numbers game. When you get a large, obviously, you still be funny. And I love how you said the material speaks for itself. You put the time in. You've dedicated everything. And I love how you take different concepts of art and combine them into your thing. It really makes you stand out and different. If you have no other questions, I have some fun, quick questions for you.
Okay.
Do you have any more?
No, I think I have like one deep question.
And then is that cool?
that's fine.
All right, go for it.
So what is like the mental health aspect with comedy? Because I'm very curious of what goes through your mind.
Well, I had a breakdown, like I said, 2 years ago, and it was something else, man. And I had to get on medication to be able to balance myself. But I also, the hospital they put me in was like a prison, and they were and my doctor looked at what they did. I got the right doctor. Luckily, my wife really loves me and really cares, and got me with somebody who also cared, and also cared about the fact that I was a comedian and that wanted to see me back on stage again. Mm-hmm. And he looked at what they did to me, and he was like, dude, are they trying to kill you? Like, this stuff is dirty, So, you can't rely on the doctors a lot of the times, because a lot of times they're just doing whatever they're doing for whoever they work for.
Yeah.
You gotta find people. If you're getting treated bad at a hospital, go find another hospital. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I'm saying that you gotta value your health and but find people there's people that will help you. If you're getting mistreated, get out of that relationship. If you're getting beat up every night, there's somebody that's not going to beat you. Yeah. And and it's easier said than done, right. But you have to value yourself, and you have to fight to get what you want, And I just was very blessed that I have a wife that really cared and got me the help that I needed. So.
Oh my goodness. That was...
It's awesome how important you state that family is to you, because I think a lot of people in your industry, and I don't know, I'm not in the industry, but keeping your family such a core priority says a lot about who you are as a person and your character. Man. So I think that's awesome. So fun questions.
Yeah.
Okay. First fun question. Can I tell you a dad joke?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Should I tell him the... Yeah. So I recently visited a friend in jail. Okay. I was telling my other friends this, and they started laughing. That's not a joke, okay? It's real. Anyway, so this is my joke. So I get there, the first time ever visiting someone in jail, and I'm like, listen, I need to come in with a bang. This guy's been incarcerated for the last couple of weeks. He didn't have a long sentence, and so I'm like looking up on the phone some jokes. So I get there, get on the phone, and I found a joke. So I go to him. Get ready. I said, what do you call an inmate that takes his own mugshot?
I don't know.
A selfie. Okay. All right. It's whatever. All right, anyway, that one, and then my favorite one is a three-legged dog walks into a bar. Okay. And he says, I'm looking for the man who shot my paw.
Oh, yeah, I've heard
That's my favorite one. I say that joke all the time. All my friends don't think it's funny.
I had a little girl come up to me tonight and told me a killer joke.
Yeah?
She's like, you seen the new movie Constipation?
Oh, no.
No. And I said, no, good, because it hasn't come out yet.
That girl? Did you hear the story about her?
She was like 3 years old.
Did you hear the story about her?
Yeah.
She was on a cruise.
Yeah, cruise ship, yeah.
And then she said out to the comedian, I'm funnier than you or something. And I don't know if that was a joke that she said.
Yeah, that was the
joke.
She
that was?
On the cruise, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she was on a cruise ship, and the comedian was talking, and they were guessing the front row or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm funnier than you. And the comedian goes, what? He's like, I'm funnier than you. Really? And he brought her up, and she said it. Everyone was laughing. And they said for the rest of the cruise, everyone was like, are you the girl that was...
No stinking way.
Yeah, she killed it.
Have you ever
He's so
done?
cute.
Yeah. Have you ever done any cruise
I've done
ship
some
stuff
cruise
like
ship
that?
stuff, yeah. But like Branson's my cruise ship.
Yeah.
Tours come to
Yeah.
me, and then you know.
Okay. Second thing. Do you have one of your favorite spots that you've done stand up, like cities, shows specific? Do you have like any favorites?
Yeah, I did a Gamage Theater, which was a palace that was supposed to be intended for Saddam Hussein. It was built by Andrew Frank Lloyd Wright, the designer. I probably said his name wrong.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And he designed it for Saddam, and then the war broke out, so he needed to go and send it to.
Yeah.
He needed to send it to somewhere in the desert. So he donated his plans to the ASU, and then he got in a fight with the dean of the college right as he's about to finish the building, and they brought me onto the stage and they said, "Look up at the ceiling. What does it look like?" I said, "It looks like a toilet flushing." And he goes, "Yeah, he designed it. He said he wished he would have flushed the toilet. He would have flushed the plans down the toilet."
Oh my goodness.
And but this place seated 3,000 people, and I performed for ASU's
Whoa.
first laugh, and that was really cool.
That is really cool. Wow. Oh my goodness, what were you just saying? That made me think of another thing. Whatever. I can come back to it. I'm sorry. What was
What was the coolest places that you
coolest place? Man, I forgot what it was.
Life
Right.
Light Music Festival, it was in South Dakota. 250,000 people
Yeah.
on. I was on the main stage, and that was really cool. Because you throw out a joke, and then you'd have to wait
Yes.
for them
Okay.
to hear it.
Just
and,
like-
and then it would like come back to you, you know.
I was listening to a guy on a podcast, and he said that he went and did a stadium, a theater, a large theater, and he thought he left, and he was like, I absolutely like just died out there, like I failed. They're like, you didn't wait for the laughs to come back or something. So
You're right. There's a delay.
yeah. Is that weird?
It is very weird. It is very weird. That's why you notice, like tonight, I have pauses.
Yeah.
So I play by ear, just like I'm playing the drums.
Yeah.
So like I'll hit the line. If I hear a laugh, I'm not gonna talk, because if I talk, they'll stop laughing. You're cutting off your laughing. So what he's doing is he's cutting off his laugh. He's going to the next sentence because he doesn't hear a laugh. Because we're kind of taught to do that. If the crowd's not laughing, get to the next line.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll laugh at that. Well, what he's doing is he's cutting off the audience completely, because he doesn't realize there's a time delay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a translator.
Pretty well.
You're like just waiting for them.
Yeah, I
to...
performed in South America. I was in Ecuador, and I
Yeah.
had a translator. He turned to me and he goes, "I don't have a word for super duper."
Oh, that's funny. I bet those translators have to have like that funny thing. 'Cause,
Imagine
like,
they start laughing. They go, "I'm sorry. Hold on."
or like you've been in services where they have a translator. It's like twice as long, and you're just, and like you're learning what Spanish is for raise your hands, all you people, or something like that. Another thing, you have to be a curious person, because I feel like you know a lot of like random things, but then from those things you can like definitely derive or take and make material. Do you dedicate time to like reading the stuff or whatever?
I especially on this tour, you know, when I was on the plane, I'm like coming up with ideas and always kind of, you know, watching people, watching funny things, looking for opportunities, you know, to make a joke out.
Do you ever do something on purpose to make a story?
Not really.
No?
Most of my stuff is based on real stuff that happened.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Man.
That is cool.
That is crazy.
That's awesome.
I tried to make a joke on like a personal thing, and it dropped, and I was like, oh man, it was so much better in the bathroom. That was the joke right there. It did the same thing. Shouldn't have said it.
It's very good. And then this is the last question before we can start wrapping up. Again, we thank you for your time.
Yeah.
What is like one of, and he might not have to admit it, whatever. What's one of your worst, what is it called? Like
bombing?
flops. Yeah, bombing. Do you have a bad bombing moment that you're just like, I understand. I get it.
Well, yeah, I was up in Upper Wisconsin. I was in Lake Superior, and they had this corn roast. They were giving out corn on the cob for free, and the parents just showed up and then dumped all their kids off. And then they go, "You guys ready for comedy? Come up at the front, kids." I had babies crawling on my thing, and all the adults are in the back of the room eating corn.
Yeah.
And it was god awful. And then they had the audacity to be like, "Oh, it wasn't funny at all." I'm like, dude, you weren't even paying attention. You're stuffing your face with corn the whole time. You know, like it was horrible.
It's hard to compete with free food.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can't. Yeah. You know, comedy's different than music. With music, you can kind of ignore music but still hear it.
Yeah.
With comedy, you need to listen to the setup so you get the punchline. You know.
I appreciate this so much. I've actually, to open up a little bit, for the longest time, I have kind of taken a break for it, but for years, I've been writing down like material ideas, because it's actually like I want to try it to see how I would do, to do like a stand-up mic. So this conversation has been very enlightening to me, just to figure out like what it is like to daily grind. I think you've given a lot of insight to the reality to it, but also like a lot of like the benefits and fun that surrounds it.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's a lot of reward to like going up and like think about how fulfilling and giving back. Like laughing is like universal.
Yeah, it is.
And to be like, to make someone's day, especially, and I love how you were talking about how you're starting to incorporate things that are like are takeaways that can like go deeper than something funny, but like and how you ended your set today talking about God and like the blessings and like the miracles that have happened in your life. It is very, very, very cool. And it's cool to see how you've taken, I'm repeating myself. I tend to repeat myself, but it is very, very cool to see that. And it's awesome for me because I've been writing down a bunch of stuff, and having this conversation makes me want to like just try it. And like you've given a blueprint.
Oh yeah.
Very quick. Go find a stand-up open mic.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have a cafe here. You have a coffee shop. You could do an open mic. You know, if you know the people that are like you guys know, and you control it. That's what I started out doing. I put on my own open mics, met other comics, and we all kind of. We help each other. We help write. We help motivate each other and give each other stage time. And it's key.
That is so cool.
It's amazing.
So again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. BC Pro Cast, they appreciate you listening. So definitely, thank you.
Thank
Means
you.
a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So like and subscribe. Follow down below, comment something. Oh, okay. So
My Instagram handle is
Yes.
Joey ILO. You can find me on Instagram, find me on TikTok, follow me on there. And I'm on Facebook, Joey ILO.
And we're going to put in the description, the links and all that stuff. And we have a little tagline that you might enjoy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you always give me the hardest part. No, did you? So like and subscribe. Yeah. Joey, thank you so much. Follow everything. And seriously, look at the dates. You guys will not regret watching them. You will absolutely laugh your socks off. I had to time mine. No, I'm not even going to try a joke. Sorry, never mind. But you will absolutely laugh.
We all start somewhere.
Yeah. I'm not the comedian. But seriously, thank you, Joey. We are here to fuel your curiosity. So we'll see you on the next episode, number 18. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.